Today I'm going to be talking about the basics of one-point perspective. One-point perspective means that there is one vanishing point in the center of your vision. So what that means is no matter where I look, in the center of my vision is going to be one point where everything converges. And I'll explain that a little bit more through this lesson. So first you need to start off with a horizon line. The horizon line is where the sky meets the earth. So the earth might be water, it might be land, it might be mountains. Wherever that point where the sky meets the ground is going to be your horizon line. The vanishing point then goes in the center of the horizon line. The reason being is we as humans have eyeballs on the front of our heads, so typically we are looking straight out forward. So the parallel of the earth is going to be the horizon line, and so the vanishing point ends up in the center of where we are looking. Now if I'm looking up, if I'm looking down, the vanishing point will move with that. As we are looking typically, it's going to be in the center of our vision. Now, when you are doing any type of drawing, you are going to start with what is in front first and work backward. If you're painting, it's the opposite because you can layer paint. So you start from the back going front. But in drawings, you always start what is closest and work backwards. So when I am drawing objects, particularly in one-point perspective, the objects are going to typically be on one side or the other of the vanishing point. So if I'm drawing a house, here is the side of the house that is closest to me. Once you have your objects established, then you need to find the corners. Here's a corner, and I'll finish this off. Here's a corner, here's a corner, here's a corner, here's a corner. These spots go towards the vanishing point. So if I were to take this corner and connect it to the vanishing point, that would be my line. Then I'll continue. Now, these 2 points would have to go through the object. So since it goes through the object and this object is not transparent, it's opaque, you cannot see through it, I am not going to connect these through because we wouldn't see that because it's behind it anyways. So this house that I am drawing is going off into the vanishing point. Now it's going off forever and ever and ever. But houses do not do that. So we need to stop this from going off forever and ever by drawing another line. The line between this point and this point is straight up and down. So if I want to end the point, I have to also make a line that is straight up and down in a position where I know that the house would end. So I'm going to make that right about here. So now my house is here, here, and here. Once I have this established, and say I want to put a point on my house, I can go up from the center of this spot, going straight up, and I'm going to make a dot right here. And then I'm going to connect it to both points, giving the peak of the house. Then I can follow this line right here and parallel that this way to the same height as this, and then I can put the top of my roof on. So there's a basic shape of a house. Now, if you want to do windows on the front of the house or a door, again, you start with what is closest to you. So if the closest part of my window is going to be right here, I'm just going to draw that edge. And just like we did with the side of the house, I'm going to find its edges. since we don't have traditional edges with two lines coming off of it, it is just going to be the top and the bottom. And I'm going to connect those to my vanishing point. Just like before with the house, this window cannot go on forever, so I'm going to cut it off right here. And since I have this window already established in these vanishing points, or these vanishing lines already established, if I want to do a second window, I can put my second window right here. And I just use the same lines. Same thing with the front door. I'm going to use this same line because it goes all the way to the bottom. Connect this to this point. Make sure my door doesn't go on forever and ever. So now I have my door and my windows and my house. Now, if you were to make a picket fence or any type of fence, if I wanted to do the fence, it works in the same manner. So I'm going to draw the edge of my fence right here. I'm going to establish the top point and the bottom point, essentially the corners, and I'm going to connect those to my vanishing point. Now I can cut off my fence. And just like we did with the top point of the building, we're going to go up the middle, establish that point, and connect it to these 2 points. And then I can keep going like that for as long as I want. And as it gets farther away, the size is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. So to make sure it keeps up with that, you actually want to make your picket fence thinner and thinner with its lines. And I can go on forever. So next we're going to do the street. So just like we did with these things, we need to find corners. So here's the edge of my street. I'm going to make a corner where the curb is. I'm going to connect those to my vanishing point. So here's one edge of my curve. I'm going to put the other edge of my curve over here. Find the corners. And then if you want, you can put your dotted line down the middle. And again, as they get farther away, it's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. So anything that you know is the same size and is diminishing can work for 1 point perspective. So if you want to do street lamps, you could do a street lamp going up, over, then make the light coming off like this, and I'm not going to make it too detailed. But anytime there is a corner, that's what you would connect your lines with. So if the corners are down here, go off like that. Now this corner goes through here, so I don't draw that. But if I'm trying to find out where the bottoms are for each successive light, then you can do that. I'm going to even do the lamp. So I know that this is the bottom, so I'm going to go up to this line. Then I'm going to connect this off. This is going to go up to this line. I know the top of my lamp goes here, over here, and like this. Then I can just connect it like that. And I can keep going on with as many lamps or street lights as I want. So this can work for trees. I could do this with more houses. Now that I have the top of my house, I can connect those points and figure out where those are. So I could make as many houses as I wanted. I could make as many lamps. This can work for trees. So if you want to do trees, it's the same thing. You always find the corners, connect it to the vanishing point. Once all the lines are connected, then you have the size measurements as how it would diminish as it gets farther away. The basics of 1-point perspective: establish your horizon line, establish your vanishing point, draw the part that is closest to you, and then connect all the corners that are visible or do not go through the object to the vanishing point. If you need the guiding lines, then you can draw the points that go through the object, but you don't technically have to draw those. So this is the basics of 1-point perspective. Thank you for your time and your attention. Do more, do better.